Hey guys, today we're going to start talking about philosophers. What is a philosopher? Well, quite simply, a philosopher is someone who sits around all day and thinks about the meaning of life. These guys have had a major impact on our world and our place in it. So get out a piece of paper and get ready to take notes. First, we need to talk about the characteristics of absolute monarchies. I know, you know this. We learned it in grade 11. Just remember that an absolute monarch gets his or her power from God, which is divine right to rule, and has unlimited power that is also hereditary. The only way for the crown not to be passed down is by death. This also meant that all other classes of society were hereditary. Once a peasant, always a peasant. This is feudalism. Think back to how society was divided prior to the French Revolution. So what was wrong with society that people didn't like? Well, the monarch had unlimited power. This means that there was no rule of law. Imagine living in a country where the ruler is above everyone else and can do what they want simply because of who they are. As well, there's no chance of moving up in society. You can't get rich, you can't change your position, you can't change the level of education. Just like prior to the French Revolution, people wanted change because the government was the one who had all the power and all of the benefits. We're going to think about philosophers and talk about different philosophers, starting with Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes wasn't a revolutionary or a radical thinker. He believed in the traditional system of absolute monarchies. He believed that people were so greedy and selfish that they needed a ruler to make decisions for them. We're inherently selfish. That means we're born selfish. What that means is that we need somebody who's going to protect us and protect our sovereignty. Otherwise, I would just be able to steal your stuff and there's nothing you can do about it. Hobbes' way of thinking meant that there needed to be order, and that order should be gained through a strong ruler with special hereditary traits. Hobbes simply believed that human beings should give up their individual sovereignty, their independence, to a powerful ruler. That way, society would be secure and protected. If we fear our ruler, then we're going to follow the rules. When you think of Hobbes, you can think of this statement: greed equals chaos. In order to prevent chaos, we have to give up some of our rights. Unfortunately, Hobbes felt we had to give up all of our rights. The next philosopher is John Locke. Locke was a radical thinker of his time. Not that he showed up to work with a mohawk kind of radical, but that he believed human beings could think for themselves and make good decisions. In the 16th century, it was crazy to think I could use reason and logic to make my own decisions, and it would be okay. I may not mess up society. Locke also believed that the government should be held accountable, that rule of law applied to everyone. Canada uses Locke's way of thinking in our constitution and cultural values. Since Locke wasn't rocking a mohawk, but his ideas were a little crazy for the time, we have credited him with the idea of social contract. You know, the unwritten rules of society. Hint, hint, people. Locke believed that we could give up some of our rights if that meant we would live in a safe, secure, orderly society. So while I love speeding down the highway, I know if I get caught, I'm going to get a ticket, or I could lose my license. This means you're all safe from my decisions. The next philosopher is John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill was an interesting guy. In a time when you could die for speaking your mind, Mill believed we should be able to express ourselves freely without fear of consequence. Imagine telling Louis XVI he's a tool and needs to start looking after his people. He'd kill you. That would be the bottom line. Mill's thinking was so radical, people started questioning the role of government in society and the role of citizens. As a strong advocate for free speech, Mill believed that it was okay to disagree with the ruler. Throw a pie in his face? No. Tell the Queen she's not thinking clearly? Yes. In return for this dissent, which is disagreeing with the government, people would be guaranteed protection of property. We need dissent in order to move forward and create change. If no one dissents, there can't be change in society. Imagine if no one questioned fashion choices. Think about the 80s, people. Think about the 60s. We'd still be wearing bell-bottoms and blue eyeshadow. So Mill's principles can be applied in a similar way. If no one questions the role of the government can simply do as it pleases. There is no rule of law. It wasn't just political systems that needed changing. The economic systems did too. Mercantilism was a downside to nations that may not have been super wealthy. Mercantilism is a system in which a country tries to get super rich by trading with other countries, exporting more than it imports. Through this trade, countries can amass a great amount of precious metals and gold. This means the government gets rich, not the people. Unless, of course, you're born rich. The government has control over the economy and didn't really care about consumerism or capitalism. Capitalism? Wait. What did you say, Mrs. Keay? That's right, I said capitalism. All thanks to Adam Smith. Smith is considered the father of capitalism. He believes that people should work in their own self-interest. That means if I get rich, I will eventually give back to the country and economy, benefiting the group. Have you heard of Bill Gates? Oprah? Adam Smith would have loved them. Smith also believes that the invisible hand, the drive within and our profit motive, is what will allow us to have a good economy. After all, no one owns a business to go bankrupt. We all want to be really, really rich, so we're not going to try and get poor. Smith believed to achieve this, the government should take a laissez-faire approach, a hands-off approach. In short, the government should let me get rich, as long as I don't hurt anyone in the process. Smith believed the government should only intervene if I was abusing my employees. That's interesting, especially given the conditions of the Industrial Revolution. You need to remember that Smith would not agree with child labor, even though it existed. When you think of Adam Smith, think of the Apprentice theme song. Money, 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 money. Ha, okay, sorry. I have no idea how to link a video in my own videos. My skills are limited, people. So this PowerPoint is going to be on Google Classroom. You're going to need to go back to Google Classroom, watch the video on the Industrial Revolution after you're done doing this lesson. Are you ready for your mind to be blown? We can no longer refer to the Industrial Revolution as the Industrial Revolution. From this point forward, we are calling it classical liberalism. Classical liberalism refers to a time period in history when philosophers changed society and people started working outside the home. As a result, factories and urbanization became common in Europe. This dramatic change in society led to a number of different issues that new philosophers wanted to address: child labor, poor working conditions, long working hours, low wages. There were no labor laws. There were no unions. The owners, often referred to as robber barons, got richer off the backs of the poor, who simply got poorer. So then comes Robert Owen. He was someone with a vision, considered it to be a utopian socialist. Owen wanted to create the perfect society based on collectivist values. Owen believed, like Hobbes, that people were greedy, and this greed led to the harshness of classical liberalism. Owen felt that if everyone was happy, then he would give back to society and be willing to work hard. Robert Owen reminds me of Cy Robertson. He just wants everybody to be happy, happy, happy. Owen wanted a happy community. To achieve this, he believed that all citizens should be given their basic needs. That's the socialist part of him. In return, people would be less stressed and work harder. Imagine if your parents didn't have to worry about bills and how to pay for basic necessities. How would your life change? Owen believed that if we all worked together, we would achieve economic success and growth. So next comes Karl Marx. He's my favorite. Karl Marx is the father of communism, the man with the beard, the man with a vision. Marx believed that if the proletariat overthrew the bourgeoisie, they could take control of industries and make their lives better. Marx believed that people should own the means of production and answer the basic economic questions. Why? Well, after seeing how poor people became in the 19th century, Marx thought there had to be a way for a country to get rich and protect its citizens. Marx was tired of the class struggle and wanted to create a classless society. He believed the only way to achieve this was through revolution, violent or otherwise. Revolutionary change was needed to protect the masses. Marx's theory is very different than the reality of communism, and it's important to remember that. Marx wanted to eliminate the need for government. To do this, everyone would have to work for the common good. Collectivize the nation's resources and redistribute the resources among all citizens equally. A brilliant idea. However, people are greedy. Just as Hobbes said, the execution of Marx's dream society was misinterpreted by the likes of Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. Because people are greedy, and that is something that we have to deal with. In order to achieve Marxism, which is different than communism, the following things must happen. The citizens must abolish private property and collectivize everything. Income tax should be paid to ensure services are provided to the citizens. The society needs to abolish the right to inherit land, title, and child labor. Finally, in a Marxist society, there will be a central planning agency responsible for determining the nation's goal and redistributing the wealth. If these elements are achieved, in Marx's mind, there would be no need for government. People can make the decisions for themselves. So, where do we go from here? Well, you need to check Google Classroom to see what your next step is.